Becorns are little people I make out of acorns and photograph with animals. Joonie was a becorn I made in 2016. I don't always name my characters, but she was special. She was a giver and a nurturer. She provided for the birds, plants, plant creatures. She even gave to the least gracious of her patrons. And in the end, she fed a squirrel. Literally. She was the squirrel's lunch. Hi, I'm Dave Bird, and this is Becorns Episode 2, Attack of the Squirrels. Today I'm going to walk through my process of taking pictures of becorns feeding animals. This project started with the simple goal of getting a photo of Joonie feeding a bird like a cardinal or a goldfinch, something colorful. But as you'll see, achieving that goal was hardly simple. To start, I found this great mossy log and I put it in the prettiest spot in my yard. I noticed that cardinals like to eat the seeds off the ground that fall out of the feeder, so I put my feeder right over the scene. Then I set Joonie out with her basket all filled up with seeds, and I waited at a distance with my remote control. I don't know why, but the birds never came. They just flew across to my neighbor's bird feeder instead. You know who did come, though? Let's just talk about squirrels for a sec. We all know they eat acorns. So imagine if you were a becorn. How scary would a squirrel be? They're huge, powerful, and they're always hungry. Becorns would build their society around protecting themselves. They'd wear helmets, they'd build weapons, they'd be careful not to get caught in the woods alone. And those lucky few who did survive a squirrel attack, well, they might just have peg legs made out of sticks. When I first started making becorns in 2008, I dreamed of getting a shot of a squirrel clutching a becorn. I used to put peanut butter on their backs and pose them in the woods. Then I'd sit very still and wait for a squirrel to come. And wait, and wait. Days would pass before a squirrel would finally come. And I'd be there, ready for it. But they never actually took the becorns. It drove me crazy. I finally learned, after years of sitting around waiting for squirrels, that there's a park in Boston where they'll come and eat right out of your hand. So I went there and I set the becorns out and I waited, and they actually came. It worked. I got the shots I dreamed of, and that's when I realized my idea of showing how scary a squirrel would be, it was a bit too scary. Seeing these photos now, they're pretty disturbing. I don't like looking at them. It was a good lesson for me, and since then I've focused on more uplifting shots. Which brings us back to sweet little Joonie feeding animals on the log. Her first visitor was a squirrel, and I didn't intervene because of course it wouldn't take her, especially without the peanut butter on her back. It messed with her a bit, but it didn't take her, and I got some shots of Joonie at her sweetest. Then a chipmunk came, and I got some great shots, or they would be if it weren't for that blade of grass. This was Joonie at her best. She was made for this. Literally. But at this moment, a squirrel was skittering through the woods looking for a bite to eat. And then she was gone. I chased it into the woods, hoping it might drop her. I was yelling like, "Hey, come back, that's mine." It didn't listen to me and turn around. So I traced its steps in the woods looking for Joonie, and I knew, even if it did drop her, I wasn't going to find her. There's a becorn in this picture. Can you find it? They're impossibly camouflaged. So I gave up looking, and I said my goodbyes, and I got to work on a new Joonie. Joonie Jr. I was disappointed to lose that original Joonie, but when you team up with wild animals to make art, things never go as planned. That's what makes it fun. I lose becorns all the time, and I just see it as an opportunity to make a better one next time. So at this point, I still wanted a cardinal pick, but I had to accept that wasn't happening. Absolutely no birds were coming to my feeder, which made no sense to me. I was getting a ton of squirrels, though, and there was also a family of chipmunks that would visit every 10 minutes or so. So I changed my goal. I wanted a shot of Joonie Jr. feeding a chipmunk. Her design I felt like it was only right to suit her up for the wilderness, so I gave her a nice strong helmet for protection and a sharp thorn to defend herself. Honestly, I was a bit disappointed with how she turned out. She looks cool, but the helmet looks like a military helmet, and with the gloves and the weapon, she's more of a warrior than a nurturer. It doesn't quite fit the story I had in mind. I didn't want to start over though, so I put her out on the log, and part of me was hoping a squirrel would take her, so I'd be forced to make a better one. I knew it wouldn't happen though, or at least that's what I thought. From the beginning, Joonie Jr. was a target. I was kidding about the helmet protecting her, but I think it actually did. And then, not 30 seconds later, Joonie Jr. took about 2 hours to build and seconds to destroy. I chased the squirrel into the woods. I said my goodbyes to Joonie Jr. Then I went straight back to the workshop. So this time I was careful to build a character that was sweeter and didn't have any aggressive weapons or military references. I gave her a helmet that looks like a big hat, and I chose a small acorn for a body, which makes for cuter proportions than what the last Joonie had. And then just for fun, I gave her a scarf. I like Joonie the Third, especially her pose, the slight tilt of her head and a little bit of asymmetry. She looks really alive, I think. This time I promised myself no squirrels. When I saw them coming, I went out and kindly asked them to move on, and of course they shook their tails at me. I think the chipmunks were pleased though, because they kept stuffing their cheeks and then scampering back to their hole over and over again. They chipped her helmet eventually, and that's when I decided, okay, this project's complete. I ended up with something completely different than what I expected. No birds, no Joonie. But to me, the sweet giving spirit of Joonie shines through. If anything, Joonie 3 looks closer, more friendly with the animals than the original Joonie ever did. And as often happens to me, there were some surprises, and I ended up with some villainous squirrel pics that I once dreamed of getting. Of all of these, which is your favorite? I try to sell prints on my website of the most popular, but I never know quite what that will be, so leave a comment, let me know. And if you want to know which I picked, head over to my shop at davidmbird.com to see. I have lots of other photos there with Becorns interacting with all sorts of animals. So there you have it, summertime pic of a Becorn feeding an animal. By the way, we moved from that house at the end of the summer, and the birds are visiting my feeder again. If you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, you can be the first to see them, or the second, I guess. And subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's an episode about bluebirds and more in the works. Thanks for watching. The video's over. You don't have to keep watching. It's really over. Seriously, bye. Okay, bye. Alright, well, I'm gonna go. Alright, bye.